Welcome to College Football 25, everybody, and my first Dynasty on the channel with the Miami Hurricanes. We've waited 11 years for this game, but the Miami Hurricanes have waited even longer for a return to greatness. I've been so excited to get this dynasty up and running and to take my franchise rebuild approach and apply it to College Football 25. I'm excited to focus on a fresh series on this game, and I know Miami is not a typical rebuild caliber team. They are not a 1 or 2 star program. They're very much established, but it's been a long time since they were national champions or even in that vicinity. The University of Miami was once a powerhouse of college football, but that was decades ago. When I was doing my research into the University of Miami, it became very clear that they were a team I wanted to build up. I hadn't realized just how far this program had fallen in the past 20 years. Let's begin with the fact that they've only had one 10-plus win season in the last 20 years. The college football playoff is a decade old. Miami has never been a part of it. Miami joined the ACC in 2004 and has never won the ACC Conference Championship. Do you know the last time a Hurricanes quarterback went in the first round of the NFL draft? Because that would be Vinny Testaverde, all the way back in 1987. Since then, no Hurricane quarterback has gone earlier than the 4th round. And only 2 Miami quarterbacks have been drafted in the last 24 years. One of them never played a snap. The other was Ken Dorsey, who went 2-11 as a starter. I am more of an NFL fan, and growing up, there were so many amazing players that went to the University of Miami. Frank Gore, Sean Taylor, Andre Johnson, Ed Reed. There are so many amazing players I could list. But since 2004, Miami has not been sending that caliber of talent to the NFL on a regular basis. From the years of 2002 to 2004, Miami had 15 players selected in the first round of the NFL draft. Since 2005, there have been only 12. And among those 12, there have been a lot of busts, and only 4 of those players ever made it to a Pro Bowl, which I know is not the best benchmark for being a good player, but I do think it helps put it into perspective. Miami used to produce some of the best talent in the country, and it's just not like that anymore. Why is that? Well, Miami has gone through 5 head coaches since Larry Coker coached them to their last national championship. I looked into their recruiting ratings over the last 10 years, and they've still had a lot of great classes, but it would appear their classes end up being stronger on paper than in reality. I don't think it's a recruiting problem in Miami. I think it's a problem of not maximizing the talent that's there. So allow me to introduce to you the head coach of the Miami Hurricanes in our dynasty. We've got the one and only Boogie Turner, a legend from my Kalispell dynasty. Many of you will remember from NCAA Football 14. He was also a legend in my Denver Broncos franchise, and this man knows how to win. He knows how to dominate. He is the right man to bring Miami back to the top. Now, of course, I cannot choose Kalispell as a pipeline, so I chose the one team that dominated the Mountain West for years in Boise State. And I made his pipeline Colorado, after spending over a decade with the Broncos building a Hall of Fame legacy. If you're looking forward to this Miami Hurricanes dynasty rebuild, please leave a like on the video. That would be much appreciated and very helpful to the start of this series. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Now, for those of you not familiar with how I do content over here, I have been obsessed with simulation sports experiences for 20 plus years. And I try to lean on the more realistic side in my series, and I really enjoy the team building side of franchise and dynasty modes. What I call a franchise rebuild is kind of the blending together of a traditional franchise where you're going through year by year with the team and building them up, with rebuilds, which have become popular on YouTube, covering many, many years and building a team up kind of in a fast-paced nature. I started making this content in 2018 with the Cleveland Browns going 0-16 and then building them up. And this idea kind of became much more than I intended it to be. And this is my first time bringing the formula to college football in any way. These series are CPU versus CPU experiences, which really highlights the players and allows us to focus on them. Our teams succeed or fail because of the players. Whenever I'm playing these series, I always get invested into the players that become the stars of a series. And I really enjoy this format because I'm not even controlling the quarterback. So even the quarterback has their own personality, and every player is going to be able to make an impact, all based on their traits, abilities, and ratings. Now, we do not play every game in these series, not by a long shot, because the goal is to go through many seasons and see what I can do as a team builder. But we do watch many games, the most crucial ones, playoff games, and that allows us to have more of a connection with the players than just simulating year by year and watching the team develop. I watch my games in slow simulation, giving us this broadcast angle, and I'm able to create custom playbooks that allow me to still have a lot of influence on the game plans and how we're running our offense and defense. For me, franchise and dynasty is all about the players. I want them to matter a lot more than my abilities on the sticks. What I ended up finding when I did content like this is that we'd end up seeing amazing games in the CPU experience. They would be much more ratings-based with a more realistic feel, and it became something I really enjoyed doing. And for years, people have wanted me to do that format on NCAA 14. I wasn't really feeling it, but I knew with College Football 25, it was finally time. So welcome everybody to the first episode of the Miami Hurricanes Dynasty Rebuild. Today, we're going to break down the team, introduce this dynasty, and get into some recruiting. And tomorrow, we're playing our very first game of the series, and we go from there. As we can see here in College Football 25, Miami is ranked inside the top 25 at 23rd overall. I would imagine much of their preseason hype, if you want to call it that, is because they might have their best quarterback in a long time with the transferring of Cam Ward. We know the transfer portal is a huge part of college athletics these days, and Cam Ward makes his way to Miami after spending some time in Washington State, throwing 25 touchdowns and 7 interceptions a year ago. And now we'll see what the Hurricanes can do with a more established and proven passer for at least 1 year. A reason why I chose Miami is because I thought there was a lot of opportunity to quickly allow the recruits I bring in to take over spots. Cam Ward is a senior, but beyond him, I don't see like a quarterback of the future on this team. Somebody that could lead Miami to places they haven't been in the last 20 years. The top-rated player on the team seems to be running back Damian Martinez. He is a junior power back at 237 pounds. If you don't know, I love running backs. I enjoy all the different skill sets, and I'm always obsessed with finding a diamond in the rough that can turn into a star. At this position in particular, Ward and Martinez easily give us a great offensive identity when you also consider that I think the offensive line is one of the most promising areas of this team. Of the 5 starters, none are a senior, so I could see this line being good this year and even better beyond. What I'm not sure about in this game, because I have not done test dynasties, I didn't watch a bunch of dynasty content over the weekend, I wanted to feel a fresh experience. But I'm not sure what to expect when it comes to players potentially transferring away, when it comes to players declaring early, because in NCAA 14, they wouldn't often go to the pros before their senior year. I was used to getting 4 years out of everybody. I don't think that's going to be the case in this game. I can already tell this team is going to change a lot from year 1 to year 2, having a senior quarterback, a running back who could just declare after his junior season, and then our top 2 receivers are seniors, including our best route running specialist, Xavier Restrepo. And by the way, if I screw up any names, please correct me. I want to make sure I get stuff right. But there's a really good nucleus for Miami here right off the bat. Their offense comes in, one of the better ones in the game. I know they were in the top 25 rankings. And one player you bet we're going to use right away in this series. Because I don't want players transferring away either. That's going to be important to keep track of players' deal breakers. But ultimately, Chris Johnson Jr. is someone I'm excited to see here. With 98 speed, yes, that Chris Johnson was his dad. I know we're seeing so many NFL players we feel like we just watched with their sons in the college game or in the NFL in a lot of cases. Chris Johnson Jr. is here, and he offers a skill set that nobody else at running back with this team really has. With that blazing speed and acceleration, we're not going to wait to get the freshman involved. Miami's offense has a lot of great talent to use on day one. I don't know that there are like a ton of building blocks that are going to be stars, but again, I don't know how development in this game is going to work. Whereas in NCAA 14, players would just kind of get better, like 4 overall, 5 overall every year. I know in this game, we're going to see players earn XP, and then we upgrade them using this system, which will be something entirely new to get used to, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I think that's part of what's going to make this a little bit more challenging initially. Like, no, Miami is not the most difficult starting point. But I'm doing 2 different dynasties, one on my main channel, one on this, and I wanted them to be very opposite experiences, while still having work to do with a team like Miami. But because this is the start of me getting used to Dynasty, I'm sure I won't have everything figured out, and I might not be as efficient as I will be a few months from now when it comes to recruiting. So I think that's going to add on to the difficulty. On the defensive end, Miami is not nearly as talented as their offense, but freshman Ruben Bain, or he's a sophomore now, but Ruben Bain burst onto the scene last year with 7.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. He's a building block. You want to have those dominant guys in the trenches, and Ruben Bain gives us someone who we know is going to be here at least 2 years. So long as we can satisfy the championship contending deal breaker. I wouldn't say it's a bad defense, but it's not going to be a defense that gives the better offenses in the ACC a ton of trouble. That's the way I look at it. A lot of seniors here at defensive tackle. At linebacker, we have Francisco Mauigoa. He's one of our higher overall players. He looks to be more of a downhill, old-school Mike run-stopping player. In the secondary, we have 1 senior that will start, but only 2 cornerbacks come in the 80s for overall, and those are both low 80s. We have Diani Hill as our best corner. And then at safety, Dennis Knight, along with Mishael Powell. 7 of the Canes' 10 best non-specialists are on the offensive side. So that is the early identity of this team. They really caught a break with Cam Ward coming over in the transfer portal, or things could look a lot different. When you have a great quarterback, it changes what type of team you are, and the Canes haven't really had that great quarterback for an extremely long time. It's hard to believe that they haven't just stumbled into like a second-round quarterback in the last 20 years. I don't know how that's even possible. Being in a college football hotspot with all this prestige, they have underperformed to a degree that just shocked me to the point where I'm using them in my first dynasty. I have some goals for us in this dynasty. Number 1, I want to develop a first-round quarterback. Cam Ward would not count. I want to develop a first-round quarterback because Miami hasn't had one since Vinny Testaverde. 2, I want to win the ACC. because it's ridiculous. Miami has never won this conference. 3, we got to get back to the top of college football and compete for that college football championship. I'm so excited, too. We've got the 12-team playoff in here. That's going to be really interesting with more teams having a chance at making it to the national title. But we all know there is a pretty big gap often between the best team and then that number 12 team. And I think even looking at the top 25, like just scraping your way into the standings there doesn't mean you're on the same playing field as one of the top 5. Miami's got a few players in the 90s and mid-80s for overall. That's kind of similar to where Florida State is, who's definitely been built up much better after a bit of a fall after their national title a decade ago. We know Clemson's been one of the top teams in college football for the past decade, and they're going to be quite a challenge to overcome. And that's just what you've got locally in the conference. That's not to mention if you want to go all the way, you might run into a Georgia down the road, and these guys have just been amazing the past few years. Michigan's obviously loaded. The Buckeyes are fantastic. I think you get it. Miami's a good but not great team, and good doesn't cut it in college football when you're on this level. Why don't we get this dynasty underway then? Upgrading the coach skills for Coach Turner. We've got 5 points right off the bat. I went with the motivator start because I don't think it's a recruiting or talent acquisition issue. So we're going to go into the motivator section of the coaching tree, and this is something else that is going to be brand new for me to learn how all of this works. Master motivator won't come until we have a bunch of unlocks. At Tier 1, we can get a bonus when they're drafted in the first 3 rounds, so that's not something that would help us a lot here in Season 1, but as the tiers, if you go down and keep investing into those areas, then you can start to actually get perks at certain positions. Well, I know right off the bat, my focus is going to be on trying to find that quarterback that can bring Miami back to the top. And maybe we have a great year in Season 1, but I don't think we're a national title contender. But we're going to start there, and maybe when Cam Ward goes pro, we have a chance to get some extra experience. But down the board there, we'd be able to, by Tier 3, getting off-season training boosts, which would be really nice. And this is going to be a big part of the series, of course, everybody. We got to talk recruiting. So we know Miami's a well-established program, and there are a number of reasons why players would want to come here. We're 24th in championship contention. We have the 21st program tradition. Brand exposure is a B. 9th in pro potential. But here's our situation going into Season 1. We have 16 seniors, 5 of them on offense, 10 on defense, including 4 defensive tackles, and then our kicker is also a senior. I know right away I want to find a good quarterback in this class. And here is the prospect list. And let's see how many have us as number 1. We do have a lot of 4-star players. There are 2 5-star players that have us in their top 8, including a quarterback. So we'll, of course, start there with 2 targets. How about we add Tony Rizzo to the board, a pass coverage linebacker from Miami. We're going to add a few quarterbacks to our board. We also have the 36th ranked prospect, Adrian Teague, who is going to have us as number 3. And then we got the lefty quarterback, David Kinoy, who is a 4-star, 291 in the country. Something else I'd like to do in this season is try to find some star caliber players on defense. We have Ruben Bain, but I think we need to find a lot more. Well, hopefully 20 players is a pretty good start for our board. And why don't we get our recruiting underway? Let's take a look at these quarterbacks then. So this is my first chance getting to recruit in this game, and you're going to have a scouting currency in this game, and because we're an established program, we do get 1,000 hours. This initial scouting costs only 10, so you can do a lot of scouting right off the bat. So here is Willie Countess. We got 80 speed, 84 short accuracy, 84 throw under pressure. Looks like he has a chance at a really strong arm and good downfield accuracy with mobile Deadeye as one of the abilities. I do not know the abilities very well, but that's got to be a good thing. Throwing well on the run, I imagine. So that's 40% scouting. I'd imagine it's like 3 times to go to 100%. Okay, so let's just go all 3 then. Oh, they're calling him a bust, but I know that doesn't mean they're like terrible prospects. It just means they're maybe a tier below what they should be. Maybe he's more of a 4-star player. Medium accuracy, only a 79. Still interested, but do I really want to put all the effort against all these teams to get him? Let's move on to Adrian Teague then, the 4-star quarterback. And we're getting the 80 accuracy off the bat, 89 throw power. He is not exceptional in any area. And then David Kinoy from Sanford, Florida. And now we got 77 throw on the run. And wow, bust on him as well. 71 under pressure, 76 deep. Not the best start for quarterbacks that were interested in coming here. All right, I think here we've got an interesting player. Larry Slaughter, the deep threat. 97 speed with 94 acceleration. I know I want to get some good speed on this team, and that shouldn't be an issue in this speed state. I am able to offer scholarships right now, at least. Let's go to the offensive line here. We got guard Joey Fraboni. And we got 81 pass block power. You know, I'm not really sure what I should be looking for initially right off the bat, but I think getting core ratings in the 80s is a good starting point. So despite what they label him as a bust, I'm going to offer Joey Fraboni a scholarship. Now let's hope we can get some good information on like top prospects like Cam Dozier that already have a lot of interest in us. I don't want to see that bust fly across my screen again. There we go. 87 finesse moves, 84 speed. Imagine having him opposite of Ruben Bain. If it doesn't work out with him, Tyler Costanzo also is a very good finesse rusher, and we started off as his #1 school. So we're offering scholarships to both. Tony Rizzo, coverage linebacker. The linebackers on this team didn't have a ton of coverage. Rizzo's doesn't look phenomenal or anything. 57 man, 83 speed, 72 zone. That's enough to get me at least intrigued. And then I want to get better DBs on this team, but it wasn't the top DBs that had the initial interest in us. So I might have to work a little bit harder if I want to get this secondary in a better spot. I like more than 85 speed, so this isn't ideal. I'm not getting a single gem today. 82 kick power. I don't know if that's going to be enough. I also don't know the thresholds of what's good at every position or what you can reasonably expect. No gem kicker, 66 power. Okay, I guess 82 doesn't sound so bad. One thing I'm not sure I need to do right now, but I'm kind of trying to find players who have a deal breaker besides coach prestige. Because although it says B+ is what we have, I know that Boogie Turner is like a C or whatever, and maybe it's the coordinators propping up that prestige. I don't know if that's a thing, but I'm worried that prestige could drop after year 1 for Coach Turner, and then that would be a deal breaker that could turn into a huge issue. So I prefer deal breakers that I'm more confident stay with us for a year. I actually like this a lot. So the information they're giving us initially has to do with what type of player that is. I was noticing so many corners here were showing us the man coverage, but not zone. But they're all man-to-man corners or slot, which has both man and zone shown. And then you've got the zone tendency that also ends up showing man, oddly enough. So we're obviously going to be pretty aggressive for the good players that already like us a lot. Might have to get used to cornerbacks maybe having a little bit less speed here. 85 is not what I'm used to, but I think they're using more of the rating spread. So that makes 90 speed more important. And then 81 press, 74 catching. Absolutely. Oh, I did find a gem, actually. Deontay Witherspoon at safety. All right, a 3-star who's got 87 speed. That should be enough at safety with 71 man, 65 zone. Good athlete and change of direction. So we've handed out 8 scholarships so far. All right, I think that's a pretty good center prospect here. 3-star Kevin Cage from Miami. Really good pass block and run block powers with 87 strength. That'll be our 10th scholarship. And I'm all out of points here in the first stage. So this was fun to get to do this for the first time. Excited to see what it's like and how difficult it can get with these recruiting battles. I have no clue what to really expect, given this is my first Dynasty on College Football 25. But very excited to get this Dynasty underway and to see where we can go. You know, I have no idea really what to expect. If this ends up being a series where it does end up being an easier time, then we'll move on to something else. But I think it's going to be a challenge to get Miami from where they are to where we want to go. I'm not going to adjust our schedule, but here's what we've got. Florida in week 1. Big rivalry game. Looking forward to that next episode. Then we've got Not the Experts Pandas in week 2. Ball State afterwards, USF. So hopefully we can get off to a really good non-conference start. And then, you know, Cal's in the ACC now, so that's kind of weird. We'll get Louisville week 8, Florida State week 9. We close at the Syracuse Dome. Oh yeah, we got to do red shirts quick. What's cool in this game is that as long as a player plays 4 games or less, they're still eligible for the red shirt season. And if you're not familiar, red shirting basically grants a player an extra year of eligibility. So you can basically have a development year for a player, and then they can play 4 years after that red shirt. So I'm going to redshirt both of the underclassmen at quarterback. I don't see us getting to these freshman running backs. I'm not sure if there's a downside to just redshirting basically everybody that's eligible. Joshisa Trader is a freshman, but with good route runnings, I wonder if he's somebody we want to use here in Season 1. Kind of similar ratings to Jacoby George. George has much better release. Oh, I have to have a position minimum. That's right. Well, I do want to try getting that extra year of eligibility if I can. But if they're not starting, I'm just going to lean on red shirting and we can burn the red shirt whenever we want. That's a lot of players then that I have red shirted here for Season 1. So every week we're going to get the advanced summary, progress on our recruiting, players at risk of transferring. There are a lot of deal breakers here you're going to have to keep track of to keep players happy. I love how they've done playing style, by the way. So what that's going to have to do with is how you're performing at a lot of different positions. So if we go into recruiting, you'll be able to go to the My School tab and then playing style. And in this case, you know, our starting tackle was like not liking the style, at least. And it depends on what archetype they are. But in the case of offensive linemen, the agile want you to run for a lot of yards per game. They want to be part of a good run game. The power guys as well. And the pass protectors want to avoid giving up sacks. There's a lot that goes into keeping players happy in terms of being a championship caliber team and maintaining what brought them to your program in the first place. If that status changes, then their team may as well. That is going to do it for episode 1 of the Miami Hurricanes rebuild. I'm very excited to get started in this series. Our first game will be next episode. We'll settle in and see what kind of a rebuild we have on our hands. Again, if you're looking forward to this series, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave any thoughts you have down below as we get started here on College Football 25. New video coming your way tomorrow. I'll see you all next time. Have a great day.